Hey, you just share your screen from there.
Yep.
And, I think you should be good.
Continue. This one. This one. All right. Okay. So I'm Peder Weierholt from Leaiertos and Weierholt Title or Traveling Title. And Jen asked us to share. We've shared this in the past. It was actually, this was put together by Paul Leaiertos, he and I founded the company 8 years ago now, 8 years ago. Paul passed away a year and a half ago, which we're sad about because he was phenomenal as a person and as an attorney. He's just amazing. I'm not an attorney. We have attorneys in the office, and I asked him, I said, hey, I'd like to present this because this was Paul's favorite subject, because Paul was also a realtor before we did title. And so this was his favorite thing. Now, this is not all the ways you can lose your license, because we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time for all that, but these are 10 things that most stuff is going to fall into. And we're actually, I'm going to put a plug in for what Jared was talking about. We're going to come to that later in the presentation, but a big part of what you all do is the disclosures. And like Jen was talking about, disclosing to all parties, everything. And as long as you're doing that, that's one of the big things. As long as you're disclosing everything to everybody in a timely manner, you're probably going to be okay. Even if somebody complains, you have a track record, especially if it's documented, of no, this was disclosed. And what a great way to document everything about the house.
Mhm.
And hey, this was disclosed. Here it is. It's even online. Okay, so yeah, great reason. So everything in this presentation was taken from the Utah Association of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors, and a bunch of other governing bodies and licensing bodies. So, and references and notes to those will be in the slides as we go. I'll also give all these to Jen so you can make them available to everybody so they can look at them and use the hyperlinks at their convenience and whatever. So. I think.
Oh,
Here we go. All right, there we go. Okay, so we're just, again, I don't generally read the bullets. I'm going to read a few of them on some of the pages. Okay, we're attempting to alert you on historical means by which agents have been disciplined, and to address some things that, you know, as the attorneys went through case law and said, here's what we've seen in the past. These are kind of the 10 things or 10 areas that showed up the most where agents were disciplined for, and some ideas on how to address those. Because the reality is you can be the best agent in the world, do everything right. Somebody gets their feelings hurt somewhere. And maybe it was you're the listing agent, but some other buyer's agent, their offer was not accepted, and they're going to throw a fit and throw you under the bus and whatever.
it happened to me, and I'm the best agent in the whole wide world.
See, it happens. It absolutely happens. And what happened in those situations, you know, the licensing body, the board, they're going to come. They have to follow through, and they're going to ask, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Because Jen's an amazing agent. She said, yep, see, here's all the evidence of everything I did. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're good. And they move on. Okay. It happens for title companies too. It happens for lenders, happens for everybody. So even though you're not doing anything wrong, some disgruntled person somewhere may try to point a finger at you. Okay, so a big thing, and when Paul put this together, it was after a long conversation with Jen several years ago about what it means to be a professional. Okay, all this is about being a professional. Unfortunately, over the last years, not so much in the most recent years, but in the years past, the last couple of decades, realtors have gotten this negative, in some places, this negative connotation of, oh, they're just, you know, they're just people who took an online course and are trying to turn a quick buck. And that was kind of the case for a long time. It was like that for us here in Utah with title as well. Okay. And so we had some meetings and we said, we need to change this. We need to change this perception. Okay. And we do that by being true professionals in everything that we do, in every way we address things. And by being that true professional, we make this again a profession. And so that's what we're after. The mission of the Utah Division of Real Estate is to protect the public and promote responsible business practices through education, licensure, regulation of real estate, mortgage, and appraisal professionals. One of the reasons we love working with you guys and with Presidio is, I mean, you look on this wall here, the education is booked. Presidio does a remarkable job of making sure you guys have the education, the tools, resources to be that true professional, because part of being a professional is furthering your knowledge, your understanding in your field, right? So that's why we're here. All right, this is a lot of stuff, really small. So, you know, these are where you can receive legal counsel, okay? Part of your dues to the Association of Realtors pays for a bank of lawyers that they have to help you with legal issues, okay? We at the title company, we also have lawyers, and on individual basis, we're willing to help with things that are just abnormal, okay? One of the things we'll get into in here is documents, okay? You guys have standard sets of documents that are made available to you because these attorneys at the Association of Realtors have put them all together. And so you can use those. We also have additional documents that might be outside of the norm that our attorneys will draft. Y'all do not want to draft legal documents. Any kind of contract, you don't want to draft it on your own because that would be practicing law under the rule, which you are not allowed to. You do act almost as proxy counsel in that you are helping to execute legal documents. But there's a list of those that are approved that you can, and we need to stick with those. Okay. Resources. Your broker is a huge resource. Okay. Jen is an amazing broker.
The best.
The best. No, actually, truly, my opinion is that she is, and here's why. And it goes into this in a slide, lots of words, because she puts her interests, her life aside to make sure you all succeed. Okay. I don't know anybody who works as many hours as her, and
You maybe.
probably not. Probably not. But she's there to be a resource. Okay. You guys are operating under a broker's license. Okay. Her job, part of that broker's license in that agreement, is to make sure you all are trained as professionals and have the resources that you need. Okay. And she has spent an amazing amount of time, I know, talking with us, and there's all these other affiliates and everybody else, and with the state and the board and agents to make sure you guys have what you need and are successful. And it shows. You guys had 54 closings last week. That's awesome.
Thank you. That's an embarrassing slide. I didn't know you had that.
Let's see.
It's not embarrassing. It's true.
It's not, it's true.
That's sweet.
Okay, this is the code of ethics. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Okay.
Oh, please.
Yeah, everybody.
Repeat after me.
No, we're not doing that. Okay, but it's there. Okay, so we're gonna, a couple of parts of that. So we're gonna take a few bullet points out of that whole long thing. You share with fellow realtors common responsibility for the integrity of the real estate profession. Okay, we're talking about a profession again. We're back to that. Integrity of the profession, not just yourself, but everything else. So even though you're doing everything right, how do we protect the profession? How do we protect this brokerage that's helping us be successful? Okay. Documenting things. In fact, there's rules, we'll get into that about, you know, everything that you do has to be documented and kept on record at the brokerage. Okay. It can be digital, but it has to be kept for 3 years from the year that the event took place, whether it was a turned down offer, you got to keep that record. Okay. That's part of the profession.
Our agents don't understand that. And so when we have in our sky slope that says all canceled offers or rejected offers.
Yep.
And they just go, yeah, that doesn't matter.
No, it's gotta be,
It
it's
does.
gotta be
Like,
kept.
We're liable for those. And what I try and teach everyone is my name is on that contract, not yours. And so if they come to me and say, where are all the contracts?
Exactly.
And I don't have them, I get fined.
You get fined, right? And again, beyond the fines, it's about creating that profession.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, we're on it. We have that record. Yep, here's everything. Okay, beyond that, it's good to keep those internal records. We analyze everything. I'm a numbers person. We analyze everything. Say, what are these trends? Why are all of these ones rejected? Is there something common with them? What can we learn from it? Okay, so it's worth keeping them for that, let alone not getting a fine.
Yeah, for sure.
For indefinitely?
7, well, we're supposed to keep them 7 years, which is why we have an admin fee. We have to pay Sky Slope every month
Right.
for the rest of 7
I'm
years.
just wondering,
of every
once you
transaction.
Yeah.
upload those documents into Sky Slope, is it indefinite? Can we go
Indefinite.
back like?
Yep,
10 years?
it's indefinite, yeah.
That's handy.
As long as I'm paying for Sky Slope,
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
The okay, so striving to become and remain informed on issues affecting real estate. That's why you're all here today, right? You're learning. That's why you have all these classes. Willing to share the fruit of your experience and study with others. Okay. New agent, you have a amazing group of people here who are going to be resources to you. Okay, and they love to do that because that's part of this, is to share that, make it continue, and then you're going to have an opportunity to do that too. Identify and take steps to eliminate practices which may damage the public. Can't see part of my thing. Might discredit, to bring dishonor to the real estate profession. Okay, so again, best practices, analyzing, okay, man, that didn't go well. Why? Can we fix it? Can we make it better? Okay, urging exclusive representation of clients. We're going to get back into this kind of later. There's exclusive representation and we need to honor that. Okay. Oh, I really wanted that client, but they went with somebody else. Let it be. Okay. We need to honor that and support that. And that is one thing that will seriously get you in trouble if you start undermining that exclusivity. Okay. Do not attempt to gain any unfair advantage over competitors. Unfair advantage, that's the key. Refrain from making unsolicited comments about other practitioners. Okay, even if they're solicited. Okay, if someone comes and asks you, hey, what do you think about this person over here at Keller Williams? As far as I know, they're great. You know, Keller Williams is a great outfit. They're, you know, we try to see professionals everywhere in our industry. Okay, and then how can I help you? Okay, not drag them down. How can I help you? Because again, that goes into one, a profession. Okay, that's what we want to be. Beyond that, there you get into the whole, you know, there could be civil action. Okay, you know, aside from the board, if you're discrediting somebody in their profession, slandering, they could come after you individually. Forget about the board. Okay. In an opinion, if an opinion is sought about a competitor, the opinion should be offered in an objective, professional manner. Okay. You know, if the question is about, hey, I heard so-and-so over there was doing something about their home, you know, kind of with the home inspection. So you know what? I don't know. I'm not a home inspector. Why don't you give Jared a call? We'll throw Jared under the bus. Okay. The term realtor stands for competency, fairness, high integrity, moral conduct in business relations. Okay. Bottom line, doing the right thing. Okay. It's just doing the right thing. I'm going to we'll come back to it again, but in this profession, in real estate profession, whether you're a realtor, a broker, a lender, title company, whatever, it is the moments when you're trying to rush, trying to get something done. Someone's barking at you because they're frustrated, they're upset, you're coming down to the wire, which happens. Okay. Rushing in those moments or saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just we'll push this through because we need to get this done, causes more problems later than it solves today, every time, every single time. Okay. There's one I was going to share. I'll share it with you in a little bit. Okay, no inducement of profit and no instruction from clients can justify departure from these ideals. Again, it doesn't matter in the moment. Do it right. Okay, it's going to help you in the long run. It's going to help the brokerage in the long run, and it's going to help your profession in the long run. Okay. Okay, so again, code of ethics summed down a little more. Protects buying and selling public, promotes competitive real estate marketplace, which is in everyone's advantage, enhances integrity of industry, your promise of performance, and your promise of professionalism. Okay. Okay, so back early 1900s, 1800s, early 1900s, there was no license laws. Okay, there was no real estate license. People just represented and brokered deals all the time. And it had a history of speculation, exploitation, and disorder. Anyway, there's no license, no governing body. I know we all get frustrated sometimes with governing bodies and the hoops we got to jump through, and I got to do more CE. If we look at the CE as an opportunity to improve our professionalism, to improve ourselves as a professional versus, it's one more thing I got to check just so I can keep doing what I'm doing, then we're on the right path. Okay, the path before was do whatever we want to do. There was nobody held accountable. People could say whatever they wanted to. So a code was adopted in 1913 to establish a professional standard of conduct, and a code of ethics was formed on the basis of the new license laws. Okay, a little history there, that a little boring, but okay. So the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics has all these articles. You hit on number 7, which is, we're going to hit on a few others today. Protect and promote the interests of the client. This is in Article 1. Obligation to the client is primary, must treat all parties honestly, regardless of agency or non-agency affiliation or relationship. So this is, again, what you were talking about earlier with receiving something from someone. Are you disclosing it to everybody? Okay. And are you representing your client's interests first, above your own interests, of everybody else's? Okay, that doesn't mean you're going to lie and cheat and steal for their interests, but you're going to, act in a fiduciary manner and put their interests ahead of everyone else's. But you're going to treat all parties honestly in that process. Okay. So this, when representing a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, other client as an agent, realtors pledge themselves to protect and promote the interests of their client. Obligation to the client is primary, but does not relieve realtors of their obligation to treat all parties honestly. When serving a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, or other party in a non-agency capacity, realtors remain obligated to treat all parties honestly. Okay. So you got to be honest in it all the time, whether you're on the paper or not. Okay. So 2 factors that could lead to a loss of license. This is our number 1. Okay. Actual conviction or failure to report criminal conviction. Okay. Doesn't mean you were convicted of a crime. It means you actually committed. Lawyers like conviction versus commit because there's legal stuff to it. But did you commit the breach, or did you know about a breach and didn't report it? Okay. So it kind of falls into 2 things. And so governing bodies are going to look at those. Did you do it? Did you know about it and didn't say anything? Both of those can get your license yanked. Okay. So some crimes across all industries. Okay. Now these are not just real estate related, but across all industries that licensing bodies look at: DUIs, domestic abuse, theft, fraud, wire fraud, forgery. Okay. These are the things that stick. Fraud, wire fraud, man, that's how they got Capone. I mean, that's serious stuff. If you watch the whole Theranos thing, I don't know if you'll followed that. Elizabeth Holmes creates this huge company, and argue what you want about it, but it gets valued at ridiculous sums. They never made a darn thing, never sold there. I think the best year of actual revenues was $200,000 in revenue. All the rest of the money they got was from investors who were speculating. They brought up all these charges against her because the whole company crashed. All these charges against her, and the only ones that stuck were the wire fraud. That was it. Okay, so that one, that one's serious. Okay, and that just comes to money was transferred based off of wrong information. Some wrong information. Okay, doesn't just have to be I lied about it. Wrong information, money moves. Okay, so forgery. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, I know of instances where realtors have forged addendums. I've forged someone's signature on addendum in the interest of speed and getting something done last minute. That one right there, when it seems like you're helping the client, it seems like it's the right thing to do, especially today when we have all these digital ways to get signatures. It's 10 seconds of a bad decision that could wreck the rest of your life. Okay. Don't do it. Okay, civil behavior. I mentioned this earlier. You can be brought up on civil charges, not just sanctions from governing bodies or boards. Okay, especially allegations of fraud. Your license may be at risk. Some common civil charges: sexual harassment or misconduct, protected class discrimination, false advertising, misrepresentation, unethical business practices. Okay, these are the ones that kind of scare people a little bit, put people at if I say something wrong, or I'm accused of saying something by a protected class of individual. Okay, what's my defense? It's a he said, she said, unless you have a pattern of it. If you don't have a pattern of it, it's hard to prove. The bottom line is just to treat everybody as a professional. Okay, represent everybody in their interests. Okay. So bottom line of this is the protected classes. So it lists all the protected classes here in the middle. Okay. So you will not, it says that you as a professional are not going to deny a client because of any of these things. Okay. And the reality is, doesn't matter if any of these classes of protected people buy or sell a house to our industry and profession. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. In fact, the more people that buy, the better. Okay, personal behavior. So our personal habits, whether we like it or not, extend into our professional sphere. Okay. If we like to stay out late partying, sleep in because we were out late partying. We don't get to our phone and our emails till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. I'll tell you right now, it's going to affect your performance and your success as a realtor. Beyond that, some of these things that accompany that could lead to losing your license. Substance abuse, undiagnosed mental health issues. They're again, undiagnosed. You're there as a professional representing other people. Okay. If you have mental health issues, take care of them. It's that easy. I won't say it's easy to take care of them. The process is simple. Take care of them. Participating in immoral, unhealthy activities. One of those is gambling addiction. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you that I know a broker who went down some of these roads, gambling addiction, and while he didn't get any civil trouble, any legal action taken, destroyed his brokerage. Okay. Activities of moral turpitude or debilitating depression. Okay, it doesn't say you're gonna get in trouble if you have debilitating depression. If you don't address it, okay, then it can cause issues. Because again, you have to act as a professional representing the interests of another person. Okay, here we are, number 4, unlicensed practice of law. Okay, so we're gonna come back to something I talked about earlier. You are not licensed to practice law. You are licensed to execute legal documents that are approved by the board. Okay, and there's a whole list of them. Okay, practicing law is the representation of the interests of another person by informing, counseling, advising, assisting, advocating, or drafting documents for that person through application of the law and associated legal principles of the person's facts and circumstances. Okay, a real estate agent or broker licensed by the state of Utah may complete state-approved forms, including sales, associated contracts directly related to the sale of real estate and personal property for their customers. Okay, totally good, absolutely, and expect you to be professionals in it, know those forms, know what they say, know the implications of them. Okay, and we're gonna keep going. Number 4 is,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
What about filling out the addendum?
Absolutely, that's an approved list. Okay,
That's what?
that's on the approved.
Approved.
Okay, so here we have,
So that can
Interesting
be
word.
in the gray
Words in
area, right?
there.
okay, so, well, and we'll get to that in a sec. Well, yeah, we'll talk more about that. So here are some sample of the state approved forms. This is not all of them. This is just a sample of some of the most common. So real estate purchase contract, the fillable, okay? The reality is a lot of people don't know what goes into those repsies, okay? And they don't understand the implications of this paragraph or that paragraph, or if I leave it blank or don't. So absolutely go through it and help them fill it out. Go through everything that you helped them fill out and make sure they understand it before they are signing it, okay? FHA, VA loan addenda, absolutely, because they're not going to know how to fill it out. Okay, it is, you're professional, you understand it, you've learned about it, you're going to help them fill it out. Make sure they understand it before they ink the paper. Blank addendum, yes, you can fill it out with whatever the criteria is. Okay, absolutely. Make sure they understand it, because I can't tell you the number of times from the title side, we get an addendum that an agent didn't write, but the buyer or seller wrote, and we're like, we have no freaking idea what this says. Okay. Okay. And they really don't either. They're just putting stuff down because they think they're lawyering themselves and they're not helping themselves. Okay. The earnest money addendums, assumption addendum, the buyer financial information sheets, surveys, disclosures, and acknowledgements. Okay. Basically any addendum. An all-inclusive trust deed, all-inclusive promissory note secured. Okay, all of these documents and forms are available through the Utah Association of Realtors. Okay, they're there. We can also get them for you, but they're there. We have additional, if there's something that you need that they don't have, call us. We have a whole bank of documents. We're happy to hand it to you. Okay. Okay, here's some drafting prohibitions. Okay, items that are not state approved. Deeds, we'll draft those. Lease options. Okay, so that's not one that's approved for you guys to draft. Okay, if you have one from there and help them fill it out, that's fine. We have those, but you can't draft it. Okay, water rights agreements. I'll tell you right now, don't even go near those. Okay.
Please go.
Yeah, well, I don't even do those. I hand those to the lawyers because they're such a pain. We actually, one of our attorneys, he has a law degree from actually University of Utah, which is the reason that's cool here is one of his primary focus areas was water and mineral rights. Okay, so he's like the guy. He knows what it means. And some of that stuff in different counties, because every county handles it differently, it's crazy. So don't even go there. I don't even go there. I give it to the lawyers who specialize in that because it's just crazy. Yeah, mineral rights, corporate resolutions, commercial leases, trusts. So again, we often see on if a property is held by an entity, a trust or a corporation, for that to be transferred or for someone to sign papers transferring it or sign obligating that company, you need to have the articles from the corporation or the trust stating who's the authorized signer and binder of the entity. Okay.
And also if somebody's deceased,
Yes,
like if the owner of the property is deceased, somebody has to be appointed to sign.
absolutely. Okay, I'll give you an example of one that we're dealing with right now. Let me sure I get this right, because it had to do with the deceased. There was a trust and the trustee passed away. Okay, that's not out of the ordinary. That happens all the time. One of the children, okay, said, okay, I'll sign on behalf of the trust. No, you won't, unless the trust says you are. The trust in it needs to specify if the trustee is deceased or incapacitated for any reason, who is the successor trustee? And if there isn't one, how is one appointed? Okay. And families are the worst. They are the worst. They are the worst. Okay, total side note on families. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I just had, so we bought a property with water rights.
Mhm.
And the wife was an ex-wife who was also deceased.
Okay.
So half the water rights are his,
Mhm.
half the water rights are hers.
Mhm.
We bought the property, the water rights are supposed to transfer to us, but we still cannot get hers, even with a death certificate. We have a death certificate we've sent to the water rights division, we've done everything we can, we cannot, so like, I want that attorney.
Yes. Yes, we'll get you connected to
Because
them.
we
Yeah.
cannot figure out how to get her water rights, we've tried everything.
We'll get you connected because water rights are crazy and they vary. Again, like I said,
Yeah.
they are treated like real property. Okay, so that odds are if it still half belonged to her
Mhm.
and she passed away,
It's a transfer to her kids,
it would transfer to her heirs.
yeah.
Now, if there's some kind of legal trail or even an email where she said, yes, this is going to go back over. If there's any of that would be extremely helpful, but we'll get you connected with Eric
That would be great.
and he can
When
help you work
said
through
had
that.
an attorney that
Yeah.
specializes, like, I need him.
Yeah, yeah, it's because that's the kind of stuff you're just like, what?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that happens all the time. Okay. So some other prohibited activities, we'll go here in the middle, advising about tax implications. Okay. Advising about the outcome of litigation, explaining the legal implications of a court order. Okay, again, if there's a court order explaining that, hey, this property has to be sold and proceeds are divided this way, call our attorneys and our attorneys can explain it to them. Okay, they're not going to charge for it. Okay, they just want to make sure that people are getting what they need done. Don't get caught up in, okay, here's another great example. Friend, a few years ago got divorced. In the divorce, Alex said that, X amount of the interest he had in his company was to go to his wife, soon to be ex-wife. Said, okay, great, no problem. He was advised by attorneys on some of the tax implications of selling stock and that money going to her. And so he went by that. What it ended up doing is costing $2 million in taxes that weren't budgeted because the attorneys got it wrong. Okay, and it's been in court for 3 years now. And now he's got huge tax liens on his properties, everything else. You don't want to be the person that advised something that went there. Okay. It's not part of the job of a professional realtor to advise on tax implications or legal readings of a divorce decree or anything like that. Okay. We have people to help you with it. Happy to do it. Okay, so generally providing legal information, opinions, or recommendations, possible legal rights, remedies, defenses, procedures, options, or strategies. Just don't do it. Refer attorneys. Okay, if If you say, you know what, I don't want to use an attorney that's attached to the title company because it's too close, no problem. We can recommend some fantastic attorneys. I recommend our attorneys. We have our own outside attorneys for when we have things to deal with. Okay, happy to. Okay, number 5. Okay, this goes back to records. Get it in writing. Okay, this is the thing that's going to save your license. Get it in writing. Okay, if there's critical elements in negotiation of the property, listing agreement, and the addendum, other considerations, keep copious records. Okay, if there's a pivotal decision made by a client during a phone call, it might be a good idea to send a confirmation email. Okay, texts, I don't trust them. Okay, get it in an email. Okay, that's a document. It's admissible in court. It's also what the board's going to look at to say, no, you did act as a professional. You did disclose things in a timely manner. They were informed. You were absolutely acting in their best interest. You're covered. You're good. So get it in writing. I know you may not be able to in the moment because, hey, had a quick phone call, had a quick discussion. Other agent called you, disclose something, you share it with your client. They said, yep, get it, but you're in the middle between here and there. Just do a follow-up email that day. Say, hey, following up on our conversation, want to confirm A, B, and C. If they respond, yep, that's my understanding, you're good. Okay. Okay. Code of Ethics, Article 9 highlights agreement shall be in writing whenever possible. Kind of clear why. In clear and understandable language. Okay, this is why we prefer when we get documents from y'all that you guys are the ones writing, because then it's in clear, understandable language. Okay, if they fill out the forms, yeah, sometimes if they're filling out forms, and the worst, I'll tell you the absolute worst is doctors who think they know how to fill these out. I hope there's no doctors in the room because they think because they're educated, they know how all this works. And they just don't, okay? Because they haven't put the time and energy into that profession. They put their time and energy into being a doctor, okay?
I think one of the biggest things I see with the language is closing costs being paid. Always specified, seller will pay blah, 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 buyer's closing costs. Because the sellers always think, well, I thought that included my closing costs too. So it is, it's one thing that we deal with a lot that we're like, well, you can read it 5 ways.
Yep.
With that, on the MLS, they have verbiage. Whenever you can use that verbiage, use that verbiage.
Absolutely.
Don't make up your own verbiage. That's for to eliminate confusion. It eliminates a lot of liability.
It absolutely does, because again, that's a standard known in the industry. And if you're using that, like, oh yeah, you're disclosing. Okay, you're telling them what needs to be said and what's been acceptable. Okay. I will say also on when you get into your documents, addendum. Okay. It is extremely helpful when it's going back and forth. Okay, you got addendum, we're on addendum 8.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, oh, it's real.
It's 18.
Is that yours?
Sure.
Most I've ever had was 13 on the file. That was mostly because they just kept extending, like 5 of them were just extensions. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you get to those addendum, okay, and so you're on the seller's side, okay, and the buyer's agent has now sent you an addendum that has a bunch of things, okay, and your 2 items are acceptable of the 3, but you're gonna counter the 3rd, okay. Specify that the first 2 are accepted, okay, because this is one that and we see this all the time. You'll address just 1 item, okay, so it'll be 3 items listed. And you're going to address the 3rd item because it's not agreed to, but you're going to meet them halfway on whatever that is. And so you only address that 3rd item on the addendum and it goes back, they sign it. Are 1 and 2 accepted or not accepted? And we've had riotous debates about this, okay? And it's the law, depending on who you're talking to, is not exactly clear. Is it or isn't it? So my suggestion to you is if it's accepted, write it down. Keep the record. Yep, 1 and 2, good. 3, we want this.
That's
Okay.
good advice.
Yeah, it just makes it, again, everybody understands, everybody's on the same page. There's no questions at the table. Well, wait a minute. We didn't agree to that. We're taking the chandeliers. Okay, so actually, side note. I just- yeah. Oh, there's so many stories. This is why we can't do all the ways, just 10. Okay.
We all have our.
Had a client, they bought a house. It was a really nice house, and on all fixtures, it was said all fixtures will remain. Okay, but the sellers, when they left, took some of the fixtures, some of the lights, some of the chandeliers, and this is the one that killed me. They took, what was it? It was a birch. There were birch logs in the fireplace that looked amazing. Had never been burned, right? It's just kind of a decorative piece. They took the birch logs. Client wanted the logs back. They said, no, that's a fixture. And so it spent weeks going back and forth to get lights back. But the people gave the chandeliers back, but refused to give back the logs. Yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, just- I know. That's what I said. I said, dude, I'll buy you the stupid logs. Okay, let's just move on. They were kind of grumpy old people. So maybe. Okay, expressing specific terms, conditions, obligations, commitments of all parties. Okay, make sure it's just written down to disclose. Take an extra 3 minutes to write it out clearly so everybody knows, and then keep the records long term.
I think one that I see a lot is on seller leasebacks. Just on the inspection side, well, this just broke. Well, the inspector didn't put in the inspection. Well, is it a lease or landlord type situation? Is it seller buyer? And so I've just seen lots. So that one expressing the specific terms, okay, you're gonna live in here for 6 months while your house is being built and the buyers have already bought it. Who pays for repairs? How is this, all of that is
Very good point. Yeah,
messy right now.
absolutely. I would say just, and without writing a novel, as clear as you can be about all these aspects, okay, is incredibly helpful. And then make sure everyone has a copy and everyone initials it, signs it. Okay, all right, so let's go to number 6. Material misrepresentations, okay, broken down to 3 areas. Innocent, so it's a simple mistake, no intent, little harm done. Okay. Negligent, failure to disclose significant property issues due to ignorance. Okay. You didn't know, you didn't look, you didn't read the report. Okay. Okay. And then fraudulent, purposefully misleading the client or hiding a property's issue. Okay. Again, disclose it all. Okay.
We had an agent that sold a condo, and our clients were back from Hawaii, and they kept saying, we have to have an elevator. We're in our 60s, we have to have an elevator. This condo complex has one.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept saying yes, but she had never seen one with her own eyes. She just kept saying, yes, there's an elevator there. And I can't remember when we found out there wasn't, and they closed on the property and they showed up and there wasn't, if she had heard from somebody that there was or what it was, but it was pure negligence.
Mhm.
Like, I would never be 100% sure. They asked her multiple times without going, I'm going to go over and get a picture for you.
Mhm.
She should have. So we hired that agent. She no longer
Yeah.
works there.
I had an agent call, this is down in St. George, and the question, she was looking to protect her buyer, okay, who had bought a property. And in the disclosures, or actually, it wasn't actually in the disclosure, okay, in an email confirmation, buyer's agent had asked the seller's agent, can they do rentals? Is it allowed in the HOA? Yes, it is. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And this person, their whole reason of buying it was they're counting on that rental income to be able to make the whole thing work. Okay, so now you've got a lender who's lent based on that. You've got someone who's bought based on that statement from an agent saying, yes, short-term rentals are allowed, when in fact they were not, which is best case for that agent, negligent, because that's something they could have known, they should have known. And if they did in fact know and said it wasn't, then that's fraudulent. So there's the difference, okay?
Could it be possible though, sometimes cities change their ordinances
Well,
in period of time, I'm just wondering.
Is it possible?
This right now.
could it happen in the time the listing's up? If the listing's up for months, possibly. In the current environment, when listings are up for days, probably not. We looked it up, okay, when they called, and this was their initial CCNRs when they formed the subdivision 6 years ago. It was there. Okay, that information was there.
Who told them, the listing agent or the buyer's agent, because wouldn't it
The
be?
listing agent told them they were allowed.
So wouldn't that be the buyer's agent's problem, because shouldn't they call and confirm?
Well, both should be
They-
confirming. Okay, both should know. Okay,
I just had one. It was never disclosed that there was an HOA ever until we were at the recorder's office and my client had to sign a document saying that they knew about the HOA that we literally just found out about. And that agent denied up one side and down the other. She's like, nope, I told you. And it was never listed on the MLS, so that's on me. I didn't directly say, is there an HOA?
Mhm.
But the other agent knew, and she never said anything to us. And now on all the other listings after mine, it lists the HOA, which is ridiculous.
that is.
And I would like to not ever do business with that agent again.
There's innocent, like you have,
Yeah.
innocent things like that that are put on the MLS. And that's why you should always put buyer broker to verify. Because,
Right.
you don't really know about it, but she clearly knew about it, and that was full on fraudulent.
Absolutely. And part of the thing, one of the things that we do in the title side is we make sure, I mean, you guys can do it, but we make sure everybody has access to the CCNRs and anything else, okay? Any covenants that would state whether there is or isn't. And
Even the title company didn't know about it.
you should get rid of them. Talk to these two in the back.
Yeah, I know.
You need to talk to these two
Yeah, I
right
know.
now.
Long story.
Okay. Yeah, seriously, they should have caught it. You talk to these two. By the way, I'm sorry, real quick. This is Kyle and Kelly. If y'all haven't met them yet, they're two of our phenomenal escrow
Yeah, they're
officers,
amazing. I love that.
like really amazing. So, yes, Derek.
I don't think anyone from this office, whatever it is, but it's happened enough times in my career where we will do with meth houses and meth testing. Because the loss, the disclosure says, are you aware of it being currently contaminated? So that wording is very, and so I've had, at least that I can just think right now, at least 3 times where I've had a listing agent find out that we're gonna do a meth test and they'll say, I don't want to know the results. In an effort to now say, I didn't know that, if it was positive, don't tell me the results. Yeah, so then if they cancel, they can hide behind, I didn't know that it was contaminated, so.
What's
Wow.
that?
Yeah.
Unprofessional.
Well, yeah, and so when,
I got meth house stories for you, but we'll come back to those later, because they're crazy. They're crazy.
yeah, but that's, 3 times I could just think of right now where,
Sad.
don't tell me about it, I don't wanna know about
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so that's gonna fall into willful negligence,
Yeah.
okay? You gotta know, you act as a professional, right?
So can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I just helped my friends buy a lot in Eagle Mountain,
Uh-huh.
and the listing agent put on there that there were water rights attached to the property.
Okay,
And so he even sent over the water right, I don't know what you call that. Certificate.
certificate, okay.
He didn't have the current owner's names on the certificate, which is.
Okay.
Common.
That's actually very common. It's actually very common.
So wasn't the current owners, I don't even know who it was that owned the water, well, come to find out that the developer
Mhm.
owns the water rights and it doesn't go to each lot, is that
Okay,
correct?
so yeah, so what'll happen, especially in places like that where they're developing where it hasn't been,
Yeah.
you have, the developer has to acquire enough water rights for what he's building.
Yeah.
Okay, and their water rights are defined by a source of water, where it's being used, how it's going between those, and what it's being used for. Okay, so all of that stuff in Eagle Mountain, that's culinary water, which means you can use it for the house. You can use it to water your lawn and for like 2 dogs and a cat. Okay, not a herd of cattle. That's different water. Okay. What'll happen is some developers will create their own water company or water board or community that holds and controls those rights, and they're associated with the properties. For that one, again, send it over and we'll have Eric look at it and see, yeah.
A deal breaker.
And the reality is with water rights, okay, it's what's the word? For lack of a better word, tenure. It's like a tenured system. Whoever's had them the longest and been using them the longest gets them. Okay, so as long as they've been in use and they're in a house, is it part of a subdivision?
It's just a lot.
It's just the lot. Okay, so the builder probably still has it in their name. Okay, and it's required, or the developer, and it's required that they have it for the subdivision. Okay. Okay, we'll take a look at it and make sure. Yeah, we'll make sure that it's all there. Yeah, it's a couple of years ago, laws were changed in the state of Utah, allowing cities like Eagle Mountain, in fact, it stemmed from Eagle Mountain, to acquire water rights from other further away towns. Okay, because there wasn't enough out there. There was no water and not enough rights for them to do the development. Yeah, so. All right, so you can't sue a real estate broker for a bad opinion. In order to win a misrepresentation lawsuit, this misstatement must involve material fact about the property or the sale that would affect reasonable person's decision regarding that purchase. Okay. So, my opinion is the neighbor is going to continue to grow and they'll eventually put in a pool. Can't get sued for that. Okay. But by knowing that there was a meth lab in the basement and it's pinging at this level on the meter and not disclosing that, yeah, that's the kind of thing that gets you in trouble. Okay. Well, that's a lot of stuff. Here's the material misrepresentation legal. If you ever have a hard time going to sleep, there you go. Okay. So Article 2 highlights: avoid exaggeration, misrepresentation, and concealment to pertinent facts about the property and the transaction. There's no obligation to discover latent defects, matters outside scope of license, or matters confidential under agency or non-agency relationships. Okay. If you aren't an expert in plumbing, don't be giving your opinion about plumbing. Right? You're an expert in real estate, and you're an expert in real estate in this market. So that's what we're going to talk about. You're only obligated to discover and disclose adverse factors reasonably apparent to someone with expertise in those areas required by their real estate licensing authority. Okay. Again, we're going to come, actually, I'm going to jump ahead because I want to think so. Okay. You have duty to disclose, okay, property conditions, agent or broker as a principal and or owner. So these are some of the minimum disclosures that you must disclose, right? And you guys all know this. Dual agency, commissions, not required but a best practice. Absolutely disclose it. Okay. How many times have we been at a closing table and there's a question about the commissions and who's paying it? Disclose it.
Can I say one on property conditions that we run into all the time?
You bet.
Someone buys a house to flip it and then they say, well, we haven't lived there. I don't have to provide anything. Yet they just replace the roof. They just replace it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They know more about that house than people that have lived there for years. Yeah.
Okay. So an agent is obligated to disclose to the principal, okay, that's the client, all relevant and material information that the agent knows and that pertains to the scope of the agency. The duty of disclosure obligates real estate broker to disclose, among other information, these: all offers, identity of all potential purchasers, any facts affecting the value of the property, and information concerning the ability or willingness of the parties relating to price. Okay. So you have the duty to disclose, but but not be confused with the real estate broker's duty to disclose to non-principals any known material facts concerning the value of the property. The duty to disclose known material facts is based upon real estate broker's duty to treat all persons honestly and fairly. That duty and honesty and fairness does not depend on the existence of agency relationships. Okay, so again, you have to be honest and forthright with all the parties with whatever you know, okay? You listed a property for somebody and it didn't sell because they wouldn't listen to you. Listing agreement expires, somebody else is listing it, you get a call. You're still obligated to share information, okay? That's relative.
On material facts.
Material facts, not, you don't have to throw opinions in there, okay, just material facts. Okay, they call and ask, hey, we understand this inspection was done by Jared. Yes, that was done. Jared has the report, okay. Confidentiality, agent is obligated to safeguard his principal's confidence and secrets. Okay, and this is where it just, wait, we're supposed to disclose, make sure everybody's on the same page, but I've got to safeguard information. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, the real estate broker has to keep confidential any information, okay, that might weaken their principal's bargaining position if it were revealed. Okay, this duty is confidentiality. This duty of confidentiality precludes a broker's representing a seller from disclosing a buyer, or precludes the broker representing a seller from disclosing to the buyer that the seller can or must sell his property below a listed price. Okay. You can't, if you're representing a seller, you're not going to share with the buyer, hey, this has to be done in a certain amount of time. They have to get this amount of money for it. The court ordered this. Okay, you're not going to share that information. That's the stuff we're keeping confidential. Okay, because that would weaken your client's position. On the other side, broker representing a buyer is prohibited from disclosing to a seller that the buyer can or will pay more for a property that's been offered. Okay, so you come in. I did this when we bought our house. Went to the agent and said, I want this house. And it was a crazy market. I said, they're asking this. We're going to offer over, and I'll go up to this. Did she go in and say, yeah, they'll go to this right away? No. She said, let's start here. And it worked it. Boom, boom, boom. She was phenomenal. And got us the house. We were in a bidding war. She convinced those sellers that they should sell to us just because we were good people. So she did fantastic. Okay. So again, some information confidential. You're there after your interest of your client, your principal. Okay. Those things aren't material fact. That's not going to affect, the usability of the home or anything like that. Okay. Confidentiality, commercial leases, what a client is willing to pay, right? You're representing someone who's going to come in and lease. You're not going to tell them, hey, they'll pay up to this amount of money. Just give them a number. Client offers this. They can take it or not. Okay. I think my clients are desperate. Just make an offer. Yeah.
It's not in this market.
Yeah, seriously. Okay.
They're motivated.
Swipe.
Motivated seller.
Swipe. Okay.
Isn't it okay if the seller asks you to do that though?
If the seller asks, say, so you represent, give me the situation.
So you're the listing agent and
And a
as far
seller,
as I've understood, whatever they tell you, you can disclose, you can disclose. So if they say,
sure.
put on the listing that we're
Yes.
desperate or we're motivated or whatever.
Absolutely, because we're talking about keeping confidences. If they say, tell the world, I want it gone tomorrow,
Yeah.
whoever
Then
walks,
you put
shows
that
up
on
with
there.
the money. Yeah, absolutely. You bet. Okay. Their absolute bottom figure is, okay, now if they say, hey, we'll list it for 500. But, first person to walk up here with 450 in cash gets it. Go ahead. You bet. I'm pretty sure my client is dying.
Wow.
Okay. If you're pretty sure your client is dying, talk to the lawyers and let's make sure all their paperwork is in order. So we know who's the successors of the trust and everything else. So when they do die, it gets done. Okay. And it doesn't go into probate for the next 3 years. All right, diligence, reasonable care. We're on number 9. Okay, we're almost there. An agent is obligated to use reasonable care and diligence in pursuing the principal's affairs. Okay. What is reasonable care and diligence? What is reasonable? Okay. Here's the legal version of that. What another person in a similar situation would do. Okay. Another person with your understanding in a similar situation would do. What would a professional realtor in this similar situation do? Okay, that's reasonable. Unfortunately, the reality is we don't normally find what reasonable is until it goes to court and the judge tells you what reasonable means. Or the jury says, well, we think this is reasonable. You're like, what? That doesn't even sound anywhere close to reasonable. Okay, so let's just not get that far down the road. Okay. Standard of care expected of a real estate broker representing a seller or buyer is that of a competent real estate professional. Okay, this says real estate broker. You're acting under that broker's license. Okay, so that means you too. By reason of his license, a real estate broker is deemed to have skill and expertise in real estate matters superior to that of the average person. Okay, so again, we're defining reasonable. Reasonable is not what my aunt who drives cars really fast thinks is reasonable. It's what a professional real estate industry would reasonably do. Okay, taking care for their profession, their client, and their business. As an agent representing others in their real estate dealings, a broker or a salesperson is under a duty to use their superior skills and knowledge while pursuing the principal's affairs. The duty includes obligation to affirmatively discover facts, okay? Dig into it, find out, relating to the principal's affairs that a reasonable and prudent real estate broker would be expected to investigate. Okay, so here we're going back to where I started the conversation. Realtors got kind of this bad rap of sign the paper, shuffle it down the line, where's my check? Okay, title companies got the same thing. Oh, here's the deal, shove it down, and your person sitting at the closing table has never even looked at this file before and doesn't know anything about it. Okay, they became like mills. Well, that's not acting like this. Okay, so taking the time to do it right, to find out and to disclose to all parties everything that is material and will affect the transaction. This is the same duty any profession, a doctor or lawyer owes to their patient or client. Okay. So here's some things. This is a volume of certain agents per se malpractice. Okay, the mills. If you're pumping out so much stuff that you don't even know what they are or who they are, is that bordering on negligence?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you meeting the professional requirements? Your continuing education, seminars, private study, consulting with brokers. Okay. Are you taking time? I do this. Let's take a day. I won't even go to the office because you go to the office and everybody's got questions for you. I'll take a day and go to the library to do my studying. Okay, up on my professionalism. Okay, see what has changed in the statutes and the laws. One just came out that doesn't affect us here in Utah. Just came out recently from FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes something network. Basically saying if someone now brings over $300,000 in cash to purchase real property, a home, we have to disclose it to them because the government is, if we live in certain places, because that is how criminals are laundering money right now. Okay, so things like that, staying on top of that so we can be professional. Okay. Are you active in the file and do you have file management systems? You guys do have an awesome file management system. And we talked about this at the beginning. Are you keeping records? Are you just taking the time to put that in and keep it in order? Are you sufficiently informed about the unique circumstances of a transaction? Okay, all the parties, the entities, any time conditions or time constraints because of, you know, a court order or anything else? Are you aware of those and following them? And then here's one. Did you review the PR?
What's a PR?
Okay.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
It's on your PR. What's that?
What's that? Okay, when you order title, okay, you order a title report. You're ordering title, okay, we open title, we're gonna do a search on the property to say, hey, is the person, I'm simplifying this a little, is the person selling the property, do they have the right to sell it? Is there anybody else that has a claim on the property? Are there any other issues out there that you need to be aware of as an agent to represent the whether it's the seller or your buyer? Okay, say, hey, there is an HOA. Hey, short-term rentals are not allowed. Hey, there's this massive tax lien that is more than their asking price. You might want to reach out to the other side and find out how they're going to address that so we don't get to the closing and this thing falls apart. Okay. Are you reading that document? Okay. To say, hey, here's everything that needs to be addressed and resolved for this to be a clean transfer of title. And then we're going to stand there, here's things that need to be addressed, and we're going to start addressing them. Sometimes there's things that we need from the client. Okay. And so this is where you guys are hugely helpful in getting it, because we will not communicate directly with your client unless you tell us to. Okay, yes.
So in the listing that I just did, I should order that right away. just
You
so
bet.
I have all that.
See one of them right there.
Yes, yes,
Then
yes,
if there's
yes.
any big issue, it's good to know.
Absolutely. I would say this, if you have a listing, get that order as soon as possible.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
And he
because,
knows who's on title,
Okay.
the sign.
right,
Oh,
I had a
yeah.
buyer buy your house and the seller didn't even know who
Okay.
was on title. So he just thought it was one person, and we got to the closing people, and it was two people. And the other person didn't want to sell it.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, see, another good reason. I
That
can't
happens.
say.
it happens, it happens. It's also, sometimes the signers for the sellers are in multiple places in different states or out of the country. During COVID, when it was hard to travel, we had a couple people that were out of the country for extended periods. And that took a lot of, forward planning to make sure we got everything back in time.
Or you have a situation where it's non-joint tenancy and someone has passed away and they think, oh, this is simple, because they thought they were in joint tenancy and
Yeah.
you get the closing table and then you say, well, where's Margaret? It's happened many times.
We had one, there was exactly that situation, where it was a husband and wife, and they were married. And joint tenancy, like Kyle was talking about, is when both parties have equal ownership in the property, but if one party passes, their interest reverts to the second, okay, automatically. Doesn't go to court, doesn't go to probate, doesn't pass to their heirs, okay? If you have on title, Joe and Diane as husband and wife, in the state of Utah, that counts as joint tenancy. We still add on there, husband and wife as joint tenants, so it's clear as can be, no questions. Because we had one where a husband and wife were married. This was not their first marriage. They each had kids from prior marriages. And she passed away. He was the survivor, but her kids hated him. Was not joint tenancy, which meant half of the property went to the kids that hated him. And they were like, nope, not selling our interest. Same thing I'm talking about. And what a mess. What a complete mess. So yes, as soon as you get a listing, the minute they ink that thing, okay, give us a call Kyle, call Kelly and say, hey, can we get a title report? Can we get a report on this? So you know what it is you're dealing with. So we're doing this, okay? And getting ahead of the game and addressing things, because there are some things that can take time, okay? They just take time to get resolved. They're not hard, it just takes some time. Okay. Okay. So your service provided shall conform to standards of practice and competency which are reasonably expected. Okay, realtors shall not undertake to provide specialized professional services concerning a type of property or service outside of their field of competence. Okay. If, let's say you're a new realtor and you've been doing residential for a while, and somebody comes and says, I got a commercial listing. Should you turn it down?
No.
Freak, no, you shouldn't turn it down, okay?
I'd either get help or refer to someone.
That's what you do. You go see the broker, say, hey, Jen, I've got this commercial listing. I don't know anything about commercial listings. Who do we have that can help me out? Boom, you're good to go, okay? Again, talk about plumbing. If it's not an area of your expertise, it's absolutely acceptable to find someone who it is, okay? Find someone who does know. The broker, she'll help you with that. Who knows about this type of property or this type of listing that I don't? Okay, don't turn it down, but get someone who knows, okay? That's reasonable expectation of taking care of their interests, right?
Sorry.
Yeah, you.
There's one that comes up a lot in the inspection industry is a lot of people think, well, I don't want to be liable for what happens on the home inspection, so I'm not going to refer an inspector. You choose your inspector. And there's really no legal precedent that that's going to protect you any. So you're more protected by finding someone and helping your client, kind of along those same lines. You're almost more liable for, sorry, I'm your professional, but I'm not going to help you figure out how to take this next step.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, and all the things that we've seen, every time, and all the legal actions that have come against brokers, realtors, titles, lenders, every time they acted in a reasonable manner and in a professional manner, it showed in the end. And everything was okay. Okay, yeah, it's a headache for a little while and it ties up some time, but everything was okay. All right, last point, don't be wacky. Okay, this is kind of the all-encompassing thing, right? Don't get into creative structures. Okay, party A is selling to B, but party C is going to pay the money. That's a cash deal. It might fly. You might be able to get it done. Every lender is going to freak about that. Okay. Creative strategies, life insurance blend into commission, creative ways of getting paid, or, again, remember that wire fraud thing at the beginning? Okay, that's where this stuff leads to. Okay. Engaging in what an objective third party may consider to be fraud. Fake addendums drawn up to see if the seller had the ability to move or compromise. Okay. Just don't play games. I can't say more simply. Don't play games. Okay. This is emotional for everybody involved. These are huge life decisions for everybody involved. Represent their interests in an honest, fair manner, disclose to all parties. Okay. Don't get creative. Every time someone calls us, hey, I was thinking, no, stop thinking. Okay. Call your broker, ask them what you should do. Okay. Because I promise you're going to think the wrong thing when you start getting creative. Okay. 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 Last thing, I touched on this at the beginning. We'll wrap it up with this. Innovative and aggressive business practices. Okay. You kind of need to be, I don't want to use the word aggressive. You need to be hustling in this industry. You need to be improving yourself, improving your position, and working hard. No question about that. Okay. Some things that are actually prohibited specifically in the NAR are advertising or solicitations which might be received by other realtors' clients. Okay. You see a Keller Williams sign up in a house in your neighborhood, and you go approach that person about why aren't you listing that house? Okay. That's what they're talking about. It's clear that someone is listing it. That isn't you. Let them do their job and be professional. Okay.
And even if you send out mailers, you should always have a little caveat at the bottom that says, if you're under contract with a broker right now, please disregard this message.
Absolutely. That's a great thing to put on. Absolutely great thing to put on. The regulations do allow for you to do general mailings. Okay. So if you're going to mail to a zip code or to a certain 3 neighborhoods in an area that you maybe is around you, as long as you're doing it to everybody and one goes to somebody where Keller Williams is listed, you're not in trouble. You're especially not in trouble if you include that language. That's beautiful. Okay, include that. You're clear. Okay, you're just looking for business in general. You're not targeting somebody else's client. Okay. Same thing. Okay, obligations when entering exclusive relationships, dealing with other brokers, clients, an agency or brokerage relationship disclosures. Again, I can't stress this enough. Disclose everything to all parties as quickly as possible. Okay, if it's material to the transaction. Okay, again, if it's the financial needs of your client, don't disclose that. Okay. But as far as the property itself and any agreements and understandings, get them in writing, get them disclosed to everybody, have them initial them. Okay. Even if it's an email, are you good with this? Get an affirmative or a negative response. Get them to respond. Okay. So you have the record. Okay. Any questions? I know it's kind of long. There's a lot we didn't go into. Again, I'll give this to Jen. She'll have it. And if you guys have any questions, if you have the stuff on the water rights, I'll get you Eric's information. Okay, we'll get that to him. And yeah, you're listing, talk to Kelly there because she's amazing. Kyle is amazing as well.
Thanks, Peter.
Oh, you betcha. You betcha.
Well, and they have one of those in their uses for this one, but I love your part for.
Yeah, yeah, the one's down here with
This
this.
one.
And just so you know, we broke up and we're traveling